This is the first in a series of lessons on Jcl, the job control language for OS 360. After completing this lesson, you should have a comprehensive overview of the language, including the purpose of Jcl, its syntax, and the purpose of each statement in Jcl. In order to understand the purpose of Jcl, let's first review the purpose of an operating system. We can think of this as resource management. Many different resources must be managed. These include CPU time, input-output devices, main storage, secondary storage, and data sets. These and many other resources must be managed so as to meet the needs of your installation. You use Jcl in two ways: to request services which involve the utilization of resources, and to provide the information needed by the operating system to supply those resources. Let's see how this is done. Job control language consists of these 9 statements: job, execute, data definition, command, comment, delimiter, null, procedure, and procedure end. Before looking at the individual statements, you need to learn something about Jcl syntax, that is, the rules for forming statements. Jcl statements contain 5 fields. These are the identification, name, operation, operands, and comments fields. First, the identification field. Columns 1 and 2 of every Jcl statement, except the delimiter statement, contain slashes. This identifies them as Jcl. Next comes the name field. It starts in column 3. Here is a typical name. This is a name that you can assign to the statement according to the rules for Jcl statement names. Let's go over these rules. A statement name can contain up to 8 characters. It can include the letters A through Z and the digits 0 through 9. In addition, 3 national characters can be used. No other special characters are permitted. A statement name must start in column 3. Finally, the first character may not be numeric. Let's look at some examples. This is a valid statement name. This is too. And so is this. This is not. It's too long. This is not. Special characters are illegal. And this is not. The first character may not be numeric. After the name, Jcl statements are free form. 1 or more blanks must be supplied to separate each field from the one that follows it. This use of a blank as a significant character is a common source of errors in Jcl. All you can do is be aware of this and be careful. For ease of reading and key punching, we suggest starting the next field in column 11. This is the operation field, which identifies the statement. The operation field is only used in 5 of the 9 Jcl statements. These are the operations you can code: job, execute, data definition, procedure, and procedure end. These words identify the operation you are asking for. Next, you must leave at least 1 blank to mark the end of the operation field. For ease of reading, we suggest you start the next field in column 16. This is the operands field. For example, this is accounting information. Each operand must be followed by a comma or a blank. A comma means that another operand follows. The next operand can follow immediately, as shown here. Normally, however, we suggest that you put each operand on a separate line, like so. In this case, the comma, followed by the blank, marks the end of the operands field, and the rest of the line becomes comments. This simplifies making changes. Notice that we have started this operand in column 16. This was for ease of reading. In fact, you may start anywhere in columns 4 through 16, but we suggest column 16. It's important to remember that a blank marks the end of the operands field. The next field is for comments. It extends through column 71. Notice that only the last operand is followed by a blank instead of a comma. This arrangement allows you to supply comments with any operand, and it allows you to write operands on as many lines as is necessary or convenient. After the comments field comes column 72. Certain obsolete versions of OS require a non-blank character in this column when you continue from line to line. Now, this isn't necessary. After column 72 come columns 73 through 80. These columns are not used by the operating system. We do recommend that you use them for a sequence number. This can be helpful if someone drops your cards. At this point, you have completed your introduction to Jcl Syntax. This material takes practice to master. So while it's still fresh in your mind, please interrupt this visual presentation and complete part 1 of the self-test for this lesson. Now that you are familiar with Jcl Syntax, we'll look at the statements again. First, the job statement. You must give a unique name to every job, because the job scheduler uses this name to identify the job. You can also provide information about the entire job as parameters of the job statement. Strictly speaking, all these parameters are optional, but many installations require an account number and the programmer's name. We'll cover all the parameters of the job statement in depth later. The next Jcl statement is the execute statement. This statement marks the beginning of a step. The name field is not required in this statement. If you use it, it names the step. The execute statement comes in 2 varieties. This is the simple one. This is the other one. We'll say more about it later. This simple execute statement names the program we want to execute in this step. The execute statement usually requires many other parameters containing information about the step. These will be covered later. The next Jcl statement is the data definition or DD statement. You must supply a DD statement for each data set used in any job step. In the name field, you write the symbolic data set name used in your program. Then you can supply the name of a real data set as a parameter of the DD statement. In this way, the data set used can be changed without changing your program. The DD statement is very powerful and can sometimes be complicated. We'll be spending a lot of time on it. But now we'll go on to the command statement. It is used almost exclusively by the computer operator to control, give information to, and obtain information from the system. Most commands are entered through the system console, but they can be also entered through the input stream. You should be aware that commands exist, but you probably will not use them. Next comes the comment statement. You can include comments anywhere in your job by coding the usual slashes in columns 1 and 2, plus an asterisk in column 3. One thing to remember about the comment statement is that you don't need to do anything special to continue it. You just write another comments statement. Now we'll cover the delimiter statement. It looks like this. The delimiter statement is used in combination with a special data definition statement. This statement means that all following cards up to the delimiter statement are treated as data. This is useful when you want to read JCL cards as data, or when you don't know whether your input data cards have slashes in columns 1 and 2. Now we'll cover the null statement, consisting of just the slashes in columns 1 and 2. You use a null statement to mark the end of a job. If the next job begins with a job statement, you don't need the null statement. The trouble is, you have no control over other jobs. So we suggest that you be prudent and always include a null statement to mark the end of your job. Now we come to the procedure statement. This statement enables you to predefine groups of JCL statements. These groups are called procedures. The procedure statement is usually the first statement in a cataloged procedure. A procedure can be stored and cataloged as a member of a partitioned data set. In this case, you can invoke the procedure by means of an execute statement, like this, which refers to the member name assigned when the procedure was cataloged. This cataloged procedure capability can save a lot of work in writing JCL in much the same way that macro instructions save work in assembler language programming. A procedure does not have to be cataloged. It can also be included in the input stream, in which case it's called an in-stream procedure. An in-stream procedure must have a procedure statement to mark its beginning. It must also have a procedure end statement to mark its end. To invoke an in-stream procedure, you refer to the name of the procedure statement. Both in-stream and catalog procedures can be difficult to write because they are advanced capabilities of JCL. You should defer writing any procedures until you are proficient in the rest of the language. However, using catalog procedures can simplify your job. You should do this when you can. At this point, you have seen all the statements in JCL. You should know the purpose of each and how they relate. The details of how you use them will be covered in the remaining lessons. In addition, you should be familiar with the fundamentals of Jcl syntax and some of its important idiosyncrasies. Being aware of these can help you avoid many commonly made errors when writing JCL.